Hello everyone, today I'll go over what if Deku becomes Momo's Titan Part 3. And all the credit goes to the author in the description below. Let us begin. Chapter 10. With a loud thump, two figures landed on a wooden floor. Shigaraki immediately shot to his feet, grabbing the nearest chair and smashing it into the counter in rage. While the blue-haired man demolished his surroundings, the mist villain stayed on the ground, dry heaving on all fours. A television screen turned on, with a label saying, "Sound only," on it. What is the meaning of this, Tamura? You weren't supposed to use the Nomu yet. The plan they had to kill the symbol of peace was simple. Pressure him with the sheer numbers of the grunt units, and with the help of Kurogiri's portal quirk cut that blonde buffoon in half. But seeing his pupil in this impotent rage, still smashing the furniture and anything he could get his hand on, the voice from the screen turned its attention to the mist man on the floor. "Kurogiri, report," he ordered. Getting shakily up, the man in question leaned on the counter, still gasping for air. "Something happened to my quirk. It got hijacked." Big war machine shower in the center of the USJ, it turned the grunts into scrap. "Tamura ordered me to bring in the Nomu and I evacuated us when it tried to attack us." He summed up all that happened, managing to calm down his breathing at the end. "War machine?" the voice from the screen asked. "Yes, it looked heavily damaged. It was lacking the left arm, and despite that, it defeated all of the grunts. Whatever it did to forcefully use my quirk, it knocked me out for a short time. When I was able to act, it was already over. I barely managed to transport the Nomu there and us two out," Kurogiri supplied, with Tamura at long last stopping his assault on the furniture. "They fucking cheated. How the fuck did they get their hands on that mech warrior? It didn't even hesitate, just started to rip every single one of our bots apart after that chick boarded it." Still fuming, the blue-haired man sat down on one of the chairs that survived his outburst. "Kurogiri, I'm lifting the limitations of your quirk that I placed on it. They are no longer needed." The sensei spoke up after a minute of silence. "Do not worry about this failure, Tamura. Learn from it to not make the same mistakes again." After those words, the screen flickered off, leaving the two alone. "I need a drink, something strong," Shigaraki spoke, now in a more level and calm voice. Kurogiri went behind the counter and got out 2 bottles of whiskey, not bothering with any glass. He could use a drink too after that fuck-up. XXX. All of the Class 1A sat silently in the bus that was driving them directly to their dorms. Most of the teenagers were stealing glances at the black-haired girl, who ignored them all and was looking through the back window with the visor of her circlet extended. Izuku, with his power source nearly depleted and extensive damage to his frame, was following them on a flatbed truck, courtesy of Principal Nezu. The head of the support department, Pro Hero Powerloader, was giving the armored giant a lift to the workshops to help with his recovery. All the way the two friends talked using the neutral interface, with Momo explaining to him what happened after he got sucked in by that portal over 6 years ago. Momo. The Ravenette jumped in her seat when the voice of her blonde best friend sounded nearly directly into her ear. "Yes?" she shouted unintentionally back, gaining the attention of everyone. Even the pro-heroine Midnight behind the wheel glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. She took over the responsibility of driving them back, because Aizawa was busy with the police investigation. "Are you all right? You didn't hit your head or anything like that?" Melissa asked her, with visible worry on her face. "No, Mel, I'm all right. I was talking with Zuko about what happened. He had quite a few questions of his own too," she replied. "Okay. I have to ask it or I'll explode," Mina suddenly exclaimed, visibly vibrating in her seat. "Yao Momo. You didn't say that your boyfriend was a freaking Gundam." That comment caused Momo to choke on her saliva, with Melissa beside her both laughing and slapping her black-haired friend on the back to help her. After getting a hold of herself, she tried to replay. "Mina-san. I told you that there is nothing between us. The last time we saw each other I was 10 years old. Zuko can be over a century old for all I know. Love knows no bounds," Hagakure Toru shouted, punching her both glowed hands up. Seeing that everyone in the bus was staring directly at her, The invisible girl started to fidget nervously. What? It's true. Hagakure defended herself. Okay, so what's the deal with your not boyfriend? I saw that little hologram thingamajig of you and him dancing. Mina started but paused for a second. Wait. You said that you last saw him when you were 10 years old. What was that holographic animation depicting then? Getting an epiphany like never before, the pinkhead asked a question that caused the ravenet to blush profusely again. It's a long story. I was kidnapped a day before I met him. By pure luck, I escaped and found him in an abandoned bunker all locked and chained up. One thing led to another and both of us were traveling through the Nevada desert to get back to my parents in LA. We were traveling by night and I got a bit upset that I couldn't spend my 10th birthday with my family. So Zuko created this thing with his quirk for me, she said, gesturing to now dormant circlet. After that, he danced with me until I fell asleep. Momo finished her story, still with a little blush. That's all cool and stuff, hella romantic too, but you didn't reply to my question, Mina exclaimed. Oh, sorry, he had a human form then, only a bit over 2 meters in height too. We encountered a powerful villain on our way home, and Zuko didn't have any other choice but to take up this form to defend me. That villain used a similar quirk to the Mistman today. They both disappeared into a black swirling portal. I searched for him after that, even using my parents' assets, but there was nothing. The Ravenet finished her story, looking back to her friend's form on the truck that had just turned to the main school building. She smiled a bit seeing the green giant wave to her with his only arm. The whole truck shook from the movement about the center of gravity. He probably wasn't anywhere. The soft voice of Izumi sounded near her, getting Momo's attention. I learned about quirks for nearly all of my life. The one used by that mist villain wasn't teleportation, but a gate. She started. Melissa perked up at that, with sudden realization striking her. Einstein-Rosen bridge theory. The blonde exclaimed as if it were an answer to everything. Seeing the lost look on her friend's face, she elaborated. It's an old theory that claims that you can create a sort of shortcut between two physical places by bending time and space. I read somewhere that there was a quirk that could interact with that structure, but it was nearly 70 years ago. If your knight in shining armor could somehow interact with it, he probably would be able to redirect it. I only don't know how he managed to get straight to the USJ and why he didn't show up earlier. The blonde inventor mused, nearly all of what she was talking about flying high over the heads of her peers. When that villain was fighting with 13 Sensei, my headpiece lit up. It said something about a dimensional anchor and sending coordinates just before Zuko arrived. Momo supplied, with visible realization growing on her blonde friend. That's what I meant. He could be stuck in the portal for the last 6 years, Izumi said in a small voice. That makes a lot of sense. Uncle Takahashi together with Papa tried to find Izuku for the past 6 years but nothing came up. If he managed to hijack the destination but didn't know where to go, your friend probably managed to connect to your headpiece via the portals that this villain was using all around the place. It would explain why he suddenly got an epilepsy-like attack. His quirk probably tried to fight with Izuku but was overpowered, causing some sort of backlash. Melissa voiced up what she deduced. Wow. A guy tears a hole through space and time to help you and he still is only a friend? One hell of a friend zone. Kaminari started, causing a few of the guys in the class to chuckle. Well. But it's all over now, why won't he change back to his human form? Mina asked, causing Momo's smile to disappear. He can't. He said to me once that his meta ability can't change back his body once he makes too big a change. At her statement, the whole bus fell silent for a few minutes. Well. His friend zone situation just got even worse. The electric teen spoke again, but this time instead of laughter he got hit with an elbow in his ribs. Not cool, man. That's not manly at all to make fun of things like that. Red-headed Kirishima Eijiro reprimanded his blonde neighbor who was wheezing and clutching his side. With the bus arriving at its destination, everyone went to the dorm building to rest up a bit after the whole ordeal. They luckily didn't have to fight, but the stress took its toll on everyone anyway. Seated on the back of a truck, Izuku watched the neatly planted trees along the way pass by. It was somewhat interesting to him. Most of the plants he spotted were marked by his meta ability as an extinct species for some reason. "Sue. Where did you come from, big guy?" The loud voice of the driver could be heard from an open window. The man introduced himself as Power Loader and was also one of the faculty in this school. "I do not know. I don't remember," the Green Giant replied, his voice easily carrying back to the man in the driver's cabin. "Ow, that sucks. Those damages on you look quite fresh. You were in a fight other than this one today?" the driver asked again. Izuku immediately picked up on the fact that it was an interrogation of sorts. "It's hard to explain. I was fighting a white-haired man to defend Princess, but he used a wormhole-generating meta ability. It appears I was stuck in some sort of pocket dimension until today," he explained courtly and to the point. "Damn," was all the response he received for a few minutes. He spent them talking with Momo via their connection. She explained to him what happened after he disappeared. He waved to her when their vehicles went their separate ways. "Will you be able to repair that damage in the workshop? I have a lot of materials there. You are free to use them." Power Loader began again. "I should be. It would be good for me to get the materials for a new arc reactor core too." This caused the driver to swerve a bit. "You aren't using a fission reactor, are you?" The nervousness of the man behind the wheel could be easily heard. "Of course not. They are too unstable and inefficient. I'm using a 6th-generation arc reactor powered by a 400-gram palladium-107 core in a triangular configuration. It's a cold fusion reactor," Izuku replied, adding the last part just to be completely clear. "Oh, that's good," Power Loader replied, after driving for another few seconds until he realized what his passenger had told him. "You have a functioning cold fusion reactor?" he asked, disbelief clear in his voice. "Yes. It's my main power source," the armored giant replied casually. Pulling to a stop in a large warehouse, the ginger-haired man hopped out of the cabin and ran to the Green Giant in hopes of getting more information. "Can you replicate it?" he asked. From his excitement he nearly tripped. "I sadly cannot. The technology involved is based on compounds that I'm not able to manufacture and my sensors didn't even pick a trace of them," Izuku replied, slowly getting off the trailer. The hangar they arrived in had a really tall ceiling, around 25 meters above ground. A few robots were parked in repair bays along one of the walls, and ceiling cranes were holding 2 of them up. Through a series of windows in one of the walls, Izuku spotted something that resembled classrooms. 3 separate rooms, all of them decorated in the same way. Desks set up on a 5x4 grid, a teacher's podium with a big digital blackboard behind it. Picking up some noise with his sensors, Izuku looked up. Around 20 meters from him stood a giant robot that barely fit inside. It was bulky and rectangular, its legs were barely articulated, and it appeared that the tank's threads on its feet were the main movement method. The whole bot was in a bad shape. Its head looked caved in from the front. The force had to be enormous to do something like that. The faceplate looked destroyed. A few panels were dismantled, and a glimpse of pink hair caught the Green Giant's attention. Looking back to the man who brought him there, Izuku decided to voice that. "I know that meta abilities are common and can have a vast range of implementations, but I think that personnel working on such heights should have at least a safety harness," he said, gesturing to the now better visible woman in a black tank top and brown overalls. "Hatsume. What the hell are you doing up there?" With the ginger man's shout, the girl didn't look back at them but still replied. "Sensei. I just needed a few parts from this scrap heap to finish one of my babies." Shouting back, she started to back out of the head, dragging something visibly heavy after her. Suddenly one of the girl's legs slipped out from under her in a comical fashion, with the girl falling off the shoulder she was standing on. Seeing that, Izuku immediately moved, covering the distance just in time. He reached out to catch the falling girl, who didn't even look perturbed from her near-death experience. "Hatsune. Are you all right? What the hell happened?" Power Loader was just after the giant. There was clear distress in his voice. "I got her. She slipped on a hydraulic fluid, judging from the remains of it on her shoes." The green giant supplied, gently setting the pinkette on the ground beside her teacher. Or he tried, because the girls clung to his fingers with surprising strength. This baby is amazing. Who made this? Its movement and behavioral protocols have to be insane to catch a falling person like that. I barely felt him catching me. She started to speak, now hanging from his hand. Izuku looked to the man who was facepalming. Only now the green mech paid enough attention to spot that the ginger-haired hero had a rather disproportional body, with his arms and hands being much bigger than they should be. Hatsume, the school is on lockdown. I left your class under the care of one of the clones from Ectoplasm. Why aren't you in the dorms? The teacher was visibly angry with the misbehaving student. I said I wanted to finish one of my babies. Innovation does not wait for anyone or anything, she replied, still clinging to Izuku's hand. The green giant tried to shake her off gently, but the girl just climbed higher up his arm and started to cling to it with her legs too. Who made this baby? I can't recognize most of the technology used. Can I disassemble it? I want to see how this thing works. Her words send a simulated shiver down Izuku's mechanical spine. With a bit more force he managed to at last shake the girl off and took a few small steps back. I would appreciate it if you wouldn't try to disassemble me, he said to the girl getting up. She won't do it, or even get into the workshop for the coming week. You got yourself a week of detention for disregarding the safety regulations and emergency protocols. Power Loader stated, freezing the girl on the spot. You can't do that. I need to create, otherwise I could die or something. The girl panicked, sprinting to the teacher's side and clinging to his leg. You would die if our friend here didn't catch you. Don't you try to weasel yourself out of it, the man snapped back. Please set yourself up anywhere you deem appropriate. I will be with you shortly, just need to get this gremlin to the dorms. The excavator hero said, peeling the pink-haired girl off his leg and holding her like a puppy by the suspenders of the overalls. Okay. The green giant replied, following with his eye after both of them. The girl whined and cried all the way until he couldn't detect them anymore. Scanning the giant hall, he found one of the repair bays not occupied by any robots and sat at the hydraulic lift. At long last, with a bit of peace, he looked over his body. Now slightly over 5.5 meters, his armored form was powerful. But he felt a slight pang of sadness that he couldn't go around like a normal person again. With Momo safe, there wasn't too much he could do to assist the girl now. Scanning all his systems, the list of damages was so extensive that he would sigh if he were physically capable of. The energy matter modulator was nearly burnt out. It wasn't created to work on such a scale and with so much power at once. His meta ability managed to make it operational, but the efficiency would probably suffer from it anyway. The critical damage from overusing maximum overdrive was fixed, or more like bypassed in a quick fix to allow him to function in any capacity. With enough energy, time, and resources he could restore it all to working order, but some of the components needed were created clearly by somebody else than him. Like the repulsor system from before that he cannibalized for the hard light shielding, his EM converter and arc reactor were something that his quirk didn't have any information on. Luckily his power source was sturdy enough, and now covered by thick gold titanium composite plating. It needed a new core ASAP, and considering he would probably get a new one quite easily, he decided that it would be a good idea to charge up the ignition coils now. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for saving my student, and the ones at USJ, and 2 of my colleagues too. Do you need any of the repairs to be done ASAP? The ginger-haired man entered back into the workshop, calling up to the giant. I would like to connect to an external power source. My reactor core is at its last legs, and using my nanites would be too taxing on it, Izuku replied, causing the hero to stiffen up. Nanites, he says. Cold fusion reactor, he says. Next thing you will tell me that you can generate matter like that girl from Heroics. The ginger-haired man started to mumble to himself. If you are talking about Momo's quirk, then no, my energy to matter conversion efficiency is drastically lower than hers, the giant replied. You gotta be shitting me. The man blurted out, taking off his helmet for the first time. His big blue eyes looked at the mech with disbelief. A lot of things happened, was his only reply. going for the power cord used to supply energy to the biggest of the machinery in the hangar. Powerloader had a feeling that his new guest had quite a story to tell. Aizawa looked over the battlefield that was left from Izuku's and Momo's rampage against the robotic villains. If that steel giant didn't arrive, he would be turned into pulp. That was a cold fact. The plating on the parts that weren't mangled suggested that they would be able to survive even a few gunshots from small-caliber firearms. It was a bit intriguing that there were no signs of any weapon systems present, just a humanoid robot. No blades or blunt striking implements, well, not counting the metallic fists. From the glimpses of the fight, he saw that those robots could quite easily jump onto the back of that green machine, around 4 to 5 meters up. That indicates that they were stronger than a baseline human being. "Did you find anything?" the cowboy-themed hero Snipe asked, coming a bit closer. "Is this that big fellow's work?" he asked, looking over the destroyed bots. "Not exactly. From what I understand, he arrived here in a pretty bad shape. One of my students got inside of him and controlled his body like her own. From the glimpses of their fight, it was moving just like her. She ripped out one of the lampposts there and used it as a staff." He described what transpired, pointing to a visible hole that was left after the mentioned light. "Damn, that's quite something. With an iron like that Gatling cannon on his big person, he would turn nearly anything into pieces." The cowboy mused, still having cold shivers down his spine when he remembered that weapon pointed at himself. "That's the point, he didn't use it. Or her for that matter. The only time I saw it fire was when the villains attacked Xyrothor. That machine fired just before them to provide covering fire for the girl." Aizawa mused. It was good that whoever Zuku was had at least enough oil in his head to not turn random people into minced meat, pun intended. "Wait, he said that he had authorization to fire that thing. Was I bamboozled?" Snipe asked, a bit irritated. "It seems so, but thinking about it, that was a good call from him. He apparently didn't know who you are, and after being attacked before, he decided to defend us. I didn't realize it at first because it caught all of us off guard, but after he tossed Xyrothor back inside, he stepped in between us and you all. His bluff was good too. No one could call it, so he used it well. The man. Robot. He said it himself that he wouldn't shoot without proper authorization from at least the girl." The sleep-deprived hero continued. "What are we going to do with him now?" the cowboy asked. "Don't know, don't care. It's on Nezu now," Aizawa replied. The mountains of paperwork he would need to go through after all this was worsening his mood from one second to another. Seated on the shoulder of All Might, Nezu was talking with the mountain of a man on the way to the support course workshops. "Are you certain that it's the same man who saved you in that confrontation?" the white-haired rodent asked Toshinori, just to confirm. "Yes, even the damages match what happened then. He was protecting little Momo more than me, I think, but he took that man on and nearly won," the blonde giant replied. "Do you think he would like to stay here?" the principal's question surprised Toshinori. "I don't know. You can ask him yourself. We are here," he announced, opening the doors to get inside. The frantic voice of the hero that was supposed to accompany their unusual guest could be heard throughout the whole place. "How the hell is this even possible? You can't just change the crystalline structure of titanium, that's witchcraft." Looking between themselves for a second, the two followed the voice of a man who was apparently having a midlife crisis. He sat near one of the repair bays, with his helmet on the floor, staring into space. "Higari-kun, are you all right? Something happened?" the principal asked with a bit of worry in his voice. "Oh, you're here. No, everything's peachy. Just go there and talk to him like one eldritch abomination to another," he said, gesturing for them to go inside the service bay. Entering the small space, the two of them saw something rather unusual. Izuku was still sitting on a hydraulic lift like on a bench, and before him stood a large workshop table. A thick industrial-grade power cable was connected to his left side, slightly above the waist. His right hand was extended forward, to the half-constructed left arm on the table. A silvery cloud of dust was traveling back and forth from a few bins with raw materials, making it all look as if the new arm was 3D printed from thin air. Spotting the new arrivals, The green mono eye of the giant looked in their direction. Hello, All Might. Hello. I'm sorry I'm not familiar with your species. What may you be? He spoke to them first. Hello to you too. Am I a dog? Or a bear? Or maybe a mouse? But the most certain thing is that I'm Nezu, the principal and leader of this institution. The white-haired rodent introduced himself in a silly way. Hello Mr. Nezu, I'm Izuku. The giant introduced himself again. Nice to meet you. I want to sincerely thank you for your intervention at the USJ facility during the attack. I'm afraid that without it our students and staff members would be dead. The principal started in a somber tone. I didn't do much. It was Princess who piloted my body and defended your students. I was temporarily incapacitated from the damages I suffered. Izuku clarified, getting a curious glance from the small chimera. That's what her teacher said too. It's a bit unbelievable that it could be done just like that, the principal replied. In theory, it isn't too complicated. My meta ability uses her neural interface as a medium to intercept the signals in her brain to translate them into electrical signals. That connection works in both directions so she can use my own sensors in return. Of course it's moderated by me to not cause any damage to her brain from sensory overflow. The mechanical teen supplied, concentrating more on the work at hand. Can you tell us more about yourself? Who you are, where you are from, things like that? Nezu asked, trying to get more information. I would really like to know that myself. Princess found me in an abandoned military installation when she was escaping her kidnappers. I only remember a few flashes. The dying words of a green-haired woman that told me to protect her, and an explosion of a zero-point reactor that overloaded all of my systems. He idly replied, still focusing on his work. Her, referring to Yaoyorozu Momo? The rodent continued his questioning. Izuku didn't reply immediately. He took the half-finished arm from the table and lifted it into position. A few loud clicking sounds could be heard, and the appendage was firmly attached to its place. Turning back to the white-haired chimera, he replied. No, I do not think so. I formed a bond of sorts, you could say. She needed a friend and a protector. I needed a purpose. We sort of slotted ourselves into those roles in our time together. The mechanical teen summarized. So what would you want to do now that she is safe? A small gleam could be seen in the beady eyes of the white-furred rodent. On our journey through Nevada's sands, she told me it was her dream to become a hero, and I promised her my help. I intend to keep that promise if it's viable, of course if she accepts. The green mech replied, looking over his skeletal hand for now. Then, what would you tell me if I presented you with an opportunity to become a hero alongside your friend? The principal exclaimed, clapping his hands together. The two heroes saw that the giant was surprised by that proposition. His eye looked from one of them to the other. He reached slowly with his right hand down to the small creature. Extending his index finger with the white-furred rodent grabbed it with his small paw-like hand. Then I suppose you got yourself a new student, principal, was his answer. Chapter 11. That freaking rat. Was the first reaction of the black-haired hero, Eraserhead, at the documents that mysteriously appeared on his desk after he returned from a small break. It was a really late afternoon, or early evening, and the sleep-deprived hero was still going through paperwork after the USJ attack. What's up, Shota? You seem more pissed off at our Lord and Savior Nezu than usual. The voice hero, Present Mike, asked his coworker. The sleep-deprived hero looked to him with a face that said more than 1,000 words about how done he was with life. I just got another problem student. Aizawa replied with a resigned tone of voice. Oh, it's rather unusual to add someone like that after the school year began, not to mention that it will be one place over the standard 20. The blonde mused. It's because of the new program from HCI. Vlad will probably get someone new too. But the one joining my class is a literal juggernaut. I don't even know how to teach someone like him. The scruffy man replied, letting his head fall face first onto the desk with a soft thump. That won't be an issue. The cherry voice of Principal Nezu caused the two to jump a bit. Looking to the door, the white-furred chimera stood there with arms behind his back and what they assumed was a smile. Mr. Knight is a capable combatant, That's not even a question. Sadly, he suffers from memory loss and is unable to recall anything besides his name. The rodent happily stated. Knight? Isn't that a bit on the nose? Aizawa asked, not really interested. Well, going by only his first name would be problematic. According to him, it was a code name from one of his memories that he could recall. It fits nicely into his background that we fabricated. Officially, he is a refugee from the good old US of A. Nezu stated, not even batting an eye after admitting that he committed a crime of forgery. And what's the real reason you are so interested in him? The black-haired hero asked, turning his face enough to see his employer. I'm worried about our youngest students. Sadly, the war with MLA is unavoidable at this point. HCI started to actively prepare for it by creating the new defense program. It's only a matter of time before these children will have to fight, possibly for their lives. By adding Mr. Knight to their ranks, I'm hoping to increase their chance of survival. At the same time, I know that our new student needs help with acclimating to his environment. It's a bit manipulative on my part, but with his presence, the survivability of his peers increases drastically. The principal stated, at last getting Aizawa to sit up straight. Wait, I thought that Yaoyorozu said he could be extremely old. The one a homeroom teacher asked, remembering his students talking about it at some point. That's rather complicated and simple at the same time, Aizawa-kun. Mr. Knight's physiology for all intents and purposes makes his body ageless. As long as he has a source of power he can live. But after talking with him, and Toshinori-san, who was present when our new student changed into his big form 6 years ago, I concluded that his mental age could be closer to that of a late teen or young adult. By modifying his age a bit to suit our needs, we can keep him safe more easily. In the eyes of the law, Knight Izuku is an underage student from the former United States. It will be impossible for black suits to come and claim him as the state property. His body is full of technological marvels that quite a few people would do anything to get their hands on. The principal droned out, with a lot of venom at the end. Sadly, unethical experiments on quirked individuals were a thing, even if illegal. That makes a lot of sense. But do you really think that this war will be so bad that we will need to send out those youngsters to the front lines? Present Mike asked, his tone for once serious. Thinking about the answer for a minute, the small animal turned around. War is a tragic and unforgiving thing. Yamada-kun. It's better to be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. Personally, I really hope that those children won't need to fight. With those words, the principal left the two heroes to their work. New arc reactor core found. Calibrating. Calibration successful. Ignition coils primed. Arc reactor starting. Arc reactor online. With those prompts from his meta ability, Izuku finished the most urgent repairs of his body. He felt a bit of relief when his power core came back to life with full capacity. Being reliant on a power cable was a bit irritating to him. The green giant nearly ripped it out a few times while moving about. Now he sighed with content, feeling when at long last he could disconnect from the power grid of the school, or more like he let out a sound of a sigh because his body wasn't physically capable of doing so anymore. During his work, the green giant noticed that his feet were damaging the floor of the repair bay he was using. With the materials provided, he created and attached rubberized soles to his legs, successfully solving the issue. It even made his steps much less noticeable, which was quite good considering his weight and size. Setting the thick power cable aside, he was about to begin the more tedious repairs, but a sudden message changed his plans. Incoming message from Princess. Hey Zuku, are you sleeping? Checking the time, it was slightly after 11 p.m. Message sent to Princess. No, I just finished the urgent repairs I had to do. Are you having trouble with sleep? His reply was nearly immediate, for the girl at least. Incoming message from Princess. Yes. Could you come here maybe? I know you are probably busy healing up, but I really would like to see you again. Message sent to Princess. I'm on my way. With the soft thuds of his steps, Izuku made his way to the same gate he used to enter the workshop. Using his nanites, he interacted with too small for him control panel to open the doorway and slowly made his way into the dark of the night. Following the signal from Momo's neural interface, he started to move along an asphalt road in the direction of his little friend. His big form could be easily spotted in the lights of the lamps along the road, but he decided that it shouldn't be a problem. No one asked him to stay in the workshop hall, so it was probably fine to travel on the campus grounds. Observing the night sky, his sensors found a few small birds flying by. For some reason it was really fascinating for him to see and witness so much life all around. Getting to a building with a large 1A emblazoned at the front, Izuku made his way to the window from the signal was coming. Stopping under it, he sent Momo a message that he had arrived. He could see a bit of commotion inside, just before the form of his friend showed up on the small balcony. "You really are here," she said in slight awe, as if she wasn't totally sure it was happening. "What sort of a knight would I be if I didn't respond to my princess's call?" he asked back in a soft voice, causing Momo to blush. After a short silence, Izuku looked to the other windows. Not wanting to wake up other occupants, he decided to move the conversation away. "Do you want to go for a walk?" he asked the still blushing girl. "Yeah. Wait here a moment please," she told him, vanishing into her room for a few seconds. Emerging back, she had a fluffy blanket with her, and was wearing a thick blouse. Seeing that only now Izuku checked the temperature, it was a rather chilly 14.6 degrees Celsius. "Could you carry me like before?" the girl asked shyly. The only response she got was a palm of his right hand raised to her level. The black-haired girl made a small seat for herself from the blanket and sat down in his hand. After Izuku was sure she was safe, he moved his hand back to his armored torso. Shielding the girl from the slight wind with his other hand, the green giant slowly moved to a grassy hill visible nearby. "I can't believe that you are back. I was searching for you for the last 6 years." Momo started, holding onto his metallic thumb. Looking down at his not-so-small-anymore friend, Izuku felt that somehow he had disappointed the girl. "I'm sorry, I didn't predict that fight would have such an outcome," he said, still in a soft voice. The black-haired girl felt small goosebumps from the deep tone of the giant's voice. Being so close to her friend when he spoke was quite an experience. "I know, Zuko, I know," she said, looking up to his only facial feature now. "You sacrificed so much just to keep me safe. How I even could start to repay you for something like that." He heard in her voice that she was sad. "Why would you even need to? Have you forgotten that it was no other than you that saved my life when I was dying by myself? Forgotten by the world deep underground?" He started, bringing her closer to his big green eye. "It was thanks to you I was able to move again, see sun and the starry skies of the night." Saying that, he stopped at the top of the hill they headed to. Looking at the horizon, the lights of the city painted it in hundreds of moving spots. Cars, shops, city lights, and even private homes together gave off a beautiful collage of colors. "And look at you. Puberty hit you like a truck. I didn't recognize you at all when I saw you for the first time," he said, chuckling slightly. Momo giggled with him, feeling the soft vibrations from his voice. "If mine was like a truck, yours must have been a freight train." At her comment, the giant's laughter rose in volume a bit, causing the birds in a nearby tree to take flight. After a minute they slowly stopped laughing, with Momo suddenly sneezing. Looking her over, Izuku easily spotted that she was shivering from the dropping temperature. To the girl's confusion, he moved her away from his chest for a few seconds, with the thick boarding hatch opening just after. "Your body temperature is dropping. Sit inside, I will warm you up," he explained, getting a blush in return. The black-haired girl slowly went inside, sitting in the soft pilot seat. With the entry hatch remaining open, it was the first time she could look around inside. From the old memories about the game, the cockpit of a Titan was full of switches and screens. Zuko's pilot seat didn't have any controls at all. It was just a comfy seat surrounded by something that looked like padding. "Zuko, how did I even remain in the seat when we were fighting at USJ?" she asked her friend, curiosity winning over. His mechanical hand reached inside to her. "Give me your blanket for a second and place your hands on the armrests." he instructed. Following what she was asked of, Momo sat properly. With a soft hiss, a set of padded arms reached from behind her and crossing over her stomach locked the raven-haired girl in place. Simultaneously each limb was locked in place by a similar mechanism. She even felt a collar forming behind her neck, effectively rendering her completely immobile. After a few seconds the restraints retreated into their places to release the girl. It works just like that. Your body is essentially unconscious when you control mine. You didn't see it earlier because you were locked in place just after connecting to me and released a few seconds before disconnection. Her big friend explained. Could you extend again the two arms that were holding me from the back? She asked shyly. What for? Isn't it uncomfortable for you to be locked in place? He inquired, not understanding her request. It felt like a hug, she mumbled, her face red. Oh, he said, not knowing how to respond. For once he slowly extended back the two safety arms, not locking them in place this time. The two of them stayed silent for a few minutes, not counting a soft, "Thank you," from Momo when she received her fluffy blanket back. Moving slowly, Izuku sat down on the ground and leaned back on his arms. With the cockpit hatch still open, the black-haired girl got a clear view of the night sky. So, why were you having issues with sleep? Zuko asked, remembering why he met with her. I can't forget the face of that man who was killed by that monster at the USJ. I'm not blaming you in any way, but I guess that seeing it through your perspective made it even worse. The way his face contorted in agony when he was being ripped apart. Lying in my bed I couldn't help but think that we could help him in some way. Even if he was a villain, no one deserves to die, especially in such a gruesome way. Momo confessed, bundling in her warm blanket. That is a good thing. Those feelings are what make us human. It is a tragedy that those villains were killed by that beast, but I don't think we were able to do anything about that. Most of my systems were damaged or bypassed just to allow me to function properly, not to mention the state of my power core at that time. I told you once that worrying about things that we can't do anything about won't help. Izuku tried to cheer his friend up. I know that you are probably right. It's just hard to forget. Can we stay like this for a bit? The black-haired girl asked, with her legs pulled up to her chest. Of course, she replied, with a comfortable silence between them. After a few minutes, Momo started to doze off. Not wanting to wake her up, Izuku slowly closed the boarding hatch to keep her safe. Still looking into the night sky, he sat motionless on the hill for more than an hour. His sensors picked up someone approaching, but it looked more like a lazy stroll in their direction than an attempt at sneaking up. Night. What are you doing here so late at night? The same black-haired man that Momo wanted him to save walked up to his side. Izuku, even without making any scans, saw that this person was heavily sleep-deprived. Am I not allowed? No one said anything in this regard. The green giant replied in nearly a whisper. Indeed you are not. As a student here you are under curfew from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. Aizawa stated, looking over the now mostly repaired metal giant. I am your homeroom teacher. You can call me Aizawa-sensei. The principal told me you are suffering from memory loss. How serious is it? The scruffy man asked. I would say that's pretty serious. To this point, I only remembered 3 things, all triggered by seemingly random words or actions. Izuku summarized, still whispering. So, asking again, what are you doing here so late at night? Aizawa asked once more. Seating more straight, the green giant gestured to the man to stay silent. With a low hiss, the upper half of the entry hatch to his torso opened up a bit, showing the sleeping girl inside. Momo was bundled in the seat like a cat on an armchair, with her legs pulled up. After confirming that the scruffy-looking hero saw her, Izuku closed the cockpit back up. Princess asked me to come here. She had a problem sleeping after witnessing the death of those people at the USJ facility. The green giant replied truthfully. Oh. Fuck. It completely escaped me that she was there. Aizawa had an urge to scream. With so many years of being on duty, he had already seen his own share of brutal deaths. It wasn't something one should become desensitized about, but sadly it was a reality of that line of work. Do not worry, I think that she is coping well for now. It would be good to let her meet with a specialist, someone she could talk and relate to. Izuku replied calmly to Eraserhead's outburst. The black-haired man looked to his new armored student. What about you? Aren't you perturbed at all by what you saw? He asked, seeing that the single eye of the giant looked down to the ground. After half a minute of silence, he replied, looking straight at the hero. The safety of Princess and you took priority over them. With the damages I was suffering from and lack of energy, there was nothing that could be done by me. It's not that I don't see the issue, all life is important, but there comes a moment when you need to prioritize. The only thing you can do is hope you choose well. Aizawa let out a heavy sigh, looking to the lights of the city in the distance. Tomorrow morning you will need to get to class. Even with your stature there shouldn't be any trouble with that. Get some sleep. Do you even sleep? The scruffy man asked in the middle of his sentence. I can, but don't need to, his new student replied. Lucky bastard. I will let this late escapade of you two slide, because of what happened today. Don't make a habit out of it. The classes start at 8 a.m. You can arrive around 10 minutes later if you want. It should be much easier to move around for you when the corridors are empty. You will be introduced to your peers then. Yaoyorozu is the class representative so she will help you with any problems. Aizawa finished with a yawn. Scratching his head lazily he started to go to the dorm building. I would ask you not to cause a commotion, but I don't believe in miracles, he said goodbye. Following after the man with his sight, Izuku felt a bit of happiness that even with his body being so large he was still treated like a normal person. Moving slowly he returned to the position he was in, looking into the sky. With Momo sleeping peacefully inside his chest he followed after the slowly moving stars with his eye, patiently waiting for the next day to come. Waking up, Momo didn't remember when she was so relaxed for the last time. Her bed, even if a bit small, was warm and extremely soft. Combined with the fluffy blanket she felt as if she was melting into it. Good morning, Princess. It's 6:30 a.m. You should start to prepare for your day. The deep voice of her big friend sounded in her ear from the circlet, making her squirm. A few minutes more, Zuku. She replied, not wanting to give up the heavenly bliss. She felt her whole bed shifting and gently rocking from side to side. Instead of being alarmed by that, she relaxed even more. You need to prepare for the day, please wake up. Izuku tried once more, miserably failing, with the girl mumbling something incoherently. With a low hiss, she felt a cold breeze. Squeezing her eyes shut, Momo tried to ignore the sudden sunlight trying to wake her up, but that fight couldn't be won. Looking around herself still in morning daze, it took the black-haired girl a few seconds to recognize where she was. Did I sleep in you for the whole night? She asked, raising her arms over her head to stretch. Yes, it is 6:37 a.m. right now. I didn't know how long your morning routine is. I'm sorry if I woke you up too late. Zuku replied, positioning his right palm near the open hatch to help his passenger disembark. It's okay, she said, allowing her big friend to lift her to the balcony of her room. What will you do today? Do you have any plans? Momo asked, not wanting to just leave her friend. I was asked by a teacher to meet him. There are also a few still damaged parts that just need a bit of time to repair, he replied, deliberately not telling the girl about joining the student body. Can we meet later then? I can visit you after classes. Are you staying at the support course workshops? She hopefully asked. For now, yes. You are welcome to visit me there, but I suggest consulting with Mr. Powerloader first if it's allowed by the school. I will see you later, Princess, he said, slowly moving back in the direction he came from yesterday. Momo stayed on the small balcony until her friend wasn't visible anymore. It was so unbelievable to her that he was back, but he really was. Going to her bathroom, she started to prepare for the day. After nearly 20 minutes she appeared in the common room, with nearly everyone seated all around. Some of them watched TV. Others just sat at the table, or were finishing their breakfast. Yaoyorozu-san. It's understandable after what happened yesterday, but please don't make a habit of waking up late like that. Iida welcomed her, with his right hand chopping air. Sorry, Iida-san. I just had an extremely hard time getting out of bed today. she replied, going to the fridge for some water. Well, I would have too if I were sleeping in a Titan, Melissa quipped from the table, loud enough for most of their peers to hear. Momo started to choke on her drink. Iida seemingly got an error report because his hand stopped mid-swing and most of the class just started to stare at the black-haired girl. Melissa didn't have any mercy for her sister thou. What kind of a knight would I be to not answer my princess's call? She exclaimed loudly with a dramatic flair, causing her black-haired friend to flush red like a tomato. You heard that? Momo asked panicked. Girl, nearly all of us did. Your man can be as stealthy as he wants but being a 6-meter-tall robot doesn't do him any favors in that regard. Hagakure began, waving her arms in an extremely animated way. That line was so cheesy but at the same time somewhat romantic, and his voice. Oh my god, I could feel it even when he was just whispering to you. Mina laughed at her classmate's peril. I know, right? That's insane. It felt like standing near a subwoofer but cooler. I still have goosebumps when I remember his voice. The invisible girl continued after her friend. Yaoyorozu, as our class representative, it's extremely unbecoming of you to break the curfew, the speedster of the class reprimanded. And he's back. The pink-est of them all laughed. I had trouble falling asleep. When I asked him to come to me I didn't mean immediately. He just showed up a few minutes later and somehow we just started to talk and it was cold and he placed me inside to warm me up and it was so comfortable I must have fallen asleep and... A stream of nearly incoherent words escaped Momo's mouth. The longer she talked the faster and more mumbled they became. Whoa, slow down Mo. Breathe. Melissa, seeing that her friend was shutting down from the teasing overload, decided to stop. Weaving the other giggling girls away, she helped the still red Momo to sit at the table. Sorry, I couldn't help myself with how you react to that. Are you okay thou? Yesterday after that incident you were acting a bit strange. The blonde asked, remembering that her friend was unusually silent. It's a bit complicated, but after my talk with Zuko yesterday I'm much better, Momo replied, still quite successfully making an impression of a tomato. I can't wait to at long last meet the guy. You were nearly obsessed with him for so long, I wonder if it's a childish crush. Melissa decided that she had given her sister enough of a break and started again. Mel. Stop that or I won't create anything for your inventions for a month. At long last managing to get a hold of herself Momo shouted, getting an immediate reaction. Falling to her knees the blonde inventor started apologizing profusely, not wanting to lose her main source of materials. Huffing, the black-haired girl went to the kitchen to make herself something to eat before the classes started, her blonde friend in tow still trying to get forgiveness. Even when she left, her big friend was the main topic in the room. How's that possible that even a giant robot has more luck with chicks than me? The smallest member of the Class 1A wailed in the corner. Man. I'm a straight male and that guy makes my heart go. And he is much cooler than you, not to mention less creepy and perverted from what we know. Kaminari Denki decided to go full savage on the guy. Yeah. That robo-bro is so manly. The red-headed Kirishima exclaimed, making some of the closer teens flinch from the volume. Well, he certainly was looking epic walking behind our teacher. I'm hoping that he will be able to heal up, or repair I guess. I know that he looks like a machine but you never know with quirks, some of them are bullshit. Even mine is strange, I could produce hundreds of liters of my acid and all I will feel is a little thirst. None of the doctors could deduce where all this liquid comes from really. Mina butted in, walking by. Yeah, or how mine produces so much energy from basically nothing, Kaminari said. Continuing their conversation the Class 1A slowly milled about, preparing for another day of lessons. Chapter 12. Walking into the repair bay that he had used earlier, Izuku started to clean it up a bit. He didn't make too much of a mess, but made it more comfortable to use by someone his size. Moving the large table that he used earlier back into place he heard faint footsteps coming closer. They were heavily pronounced as if the person in question wore really hard footwear. Looking in the direction of the entry to his small temporary home, he saw a tall woman in a skin-tight suit. She had long and wavy purple hair, deep blue eyes, and for some reason a thin red mask that didn't cover anything. Seeing that she had broken cuffs on her hands, the green giant prepared himself slowly to catch her if need arose. The only reason he didn't do that already was because it was clear that this woman approached him for some reason, not tried to sneak away or escape. "Oh, you are certainly a big boy up close," she started, her tone of voice unnecessarily sultry in his opinion. "Good morning. Who could you be?" he asked curtly, wanting the conversation to move on. "I'm Kayama Nomori, pro-heroine Midnight. I teach modern art history, and at the same time I'm responsible for media relations," she started, walking closer to Izuku and looking him over. For some reason it was rather strange for the giant that this woman just like that walked up to him, nostalgic even. "The principal asked me to try and make your appearance less intimidating and militaristic. I must say that your current green and black coloring is in quite good taste, but for the general populace, you would look like a war machine more than a hero, and we can't have that." Continuing, the older woman started to glide one of her fingertips along one of his armor plates. "But I like green," the giant mumbled, still following with his eye after what that woman was doing. "I can see that, but we will need more colors to give you a friendly vibe. It would be good if those big weapons over on your top could be taken off too." She was about to continue, but Izuku didn't let her. "My combat efficiency rating would drop significantly without any ranged weaponry," he stated firmly. Midnight wasn't perturbed, but nonetheless surprised. "I didn't mean permanently, just for your day-to-day life. Even Snipe puts away his revolver once in a while," she tried to argue. Kneeling on one knee, Izuku looked at his guest a bit closer. For some reason, the small detail that she had a beauty mark under her left eye caught his attention. Looking her over, the giant saw that a sly smile appeared on her face. "Well, it's the first time a student of mine has given me so much attention. You like what you are seeing, big guy?" The heroine spoke seductively, even striking a bit of a pose. "You seem familiar. As if I met you before," he replied, more concentrated on that strange feeling than on her actions. "I'm fairly certain that meeting someone like you couldn't be forgotten." She booped him in the chest plate, saying that. Pulling a bit away from her touch, his big green eye looked away. 2 sets of 4 lights on each side of the mono-optic lighted up, displaying a holographic picture just beside the surprised woman. "Are you sure? I was looking like that before." His voice was soft, but with a bit of hope mixed in. Looking over the construct made of light, Midnight was deeply impressed by the details it showed. The current generation holo projectors were just gimmicks really. They displayed something that was called a 2.5D screen that gave the illusion of a hologram. What she was saying before her eyes was an honest-to-God 3D representation of a human body. Standing slightly higher than her, the human form of Izuku was quite thin. His armored body was sleek but at the same time radiated power. Short green hair, green glowing eyes, and 2 antennas instead of ears. "I'm sorry, big guy, I never saw this form of you either," she replied, still looking over the projection. It took her by surprise when it disappeared in a shower of light particles. Looking back, she saw that her new student was looking down at the ground. "Something wrong?" she asked, more on an impulse than anything. "No, I just had hope that this familiar feeling about you would bring some more memories from my past. It doesn't matter. What do you have in mind for me to better fit in?" Izuku said, steering the conversation back on its track. With a sadistic smile, the heroine strolled back to him. "Oh, I thought you would never ask," she happily stated, somewhat able to send a simulated shiver down the green giant's mechanical spine. "Okay, but I'm still not sure if Goku would win with Naruto," Kaminari said, talking with Tsunotori Pony. The blonde girl with massive horns was a student from the former USA. Together with her parents, she managed to run away just when the trouble started, and after a long journey, the 3 of them settled down in Japan. Her big blue eyes were really expressive, but the most prominent thing about her was a really strong mutation associated with her quirk. The 2 horns standing high over her head were obvious. With a mix of her parents' and older ancestors' meta abilities, the 2 bony growths could be shot out like from a cannon, hence the ability's name, Horn Cannon. Her legs had a more animalistic look, with hooves instead of feet. The power they could deliver was enough to crunch a 25mm steel armor with a well-placed kick. Her unusual looks were finished off with a short blonde tail. I don't think so. Goku exploded planets a lot of times. Naruto would win maybe with Krillin, not more. Pony replied with broken Japanese. Sadly, with the sudden relocation and living for a while on the move, she didn't have much time to learn the language. Nah, I'm certain he would win. Did you see his Rasengan? The boy still tried to defend his opinion. The blonde girl looked at him with something akin to pity. The planets go, bang, she said, gesturing with her arms an explosion. But, Rasengan. Kaminari sat dejected in his place. What the hell are those extras talking about? Bakugo asked one of his not-so-many friends, Kirishima. Ah, the centuries-old question. Who would win, Goku or Naruto? Eijiro replied with a smile. That's stupid, it's obviously Goku, the explosive blonde stated. See? Exploding guy gets it. Pony called from her seat on the back, near the door. Okay everyone, the classes will start in 2 minutes. Everyone to their seats. Iida called from his seat, standing and gesturing wildly. But you're the only one up. The horned blonde behind him replied with a smile. Not to mention you are doing our job, Iida-san. Melissa also spoke up, gesturing to herself and Momo. I am terribly sorry, class president, class vice president. The bespectacled speedster bowed at 90-degree angle while apologizing. Everyone's sweat dropped at the sight, but the noise of the opening door caught their attention. Iida, in your seat. Welcome, class. Aizawa curtly started. I hope that all of you are well after the unexpected events from yesterday. All of you performed acceptably, not counting Yaoyorozu. The black-haired man's glare landed on the surprised girl in question. It was a miracle that your friend was well enough for you two to survive that fight. You ignored my order to retreat, and only by pure luck did it turn out good. Don't misunderstand me here. I'm extremely grateful for your call and Knight's arrival. Without it everything would turn grim. I personally probably wouldn't survive. But disregarding your orders can turn extremely bad too. Keep that in mind at all times. He finished, looking over the whole class. Soft thuds could be heard in the corridor, so the black-haired man took that as the signal to introduce their new classmate. Okay, today we will get a new student in our class. That statement caused a commotion, to the ire of the teacher. Silence, he called, with his quirk activating. The reaction was instantaneous, with some of the teens even holding their breath for a second. Don't do that again, I have dry eye. You all already know him, and Principal Nezu decided that letting him join your class would be the best course of action. Hearing that the footsteps stopped just behind the door, Aizawa called out. You can come in. To his words, the doors opened slowly and kept opening fully to allow the giant behind them to enter the room. All of the class just stared at Izuku's 5.5 meters tall form that strolled inside with small, soft, and measured steps. He was looking a lot better than last time. There wasn't even a scratch on his armored person. The green and black color scheme was replaced with an imitation of the boy's uniform. His legs were a dark pastel green with a few accents in a bright red color, mainly on his feet and knee pads. Going up, his torso and arms were light gray with yet again red accents on his hands and elbows. Under his mono eye was a streak of red imitating a tie. Oh my god, he even has a uniform, Mina shouted, causing the rest of the class to descend into chaos. Why are you painted like that? Aizawa asked, ignoring the pandemonium in the room. Midnight Sensei said that I should look more friendly to not scare the civilians. I'm not painted though, it's just an active coating that I made after she tried to physically paint me with a brush and an oil paint. I can change the scheme on the fly if need arises. Izuku explained to his new teacher. Active camouflage? The man asked. Not really, the time it takes to update is too long. But I could use it to blend into the environment if I remained motionless and with the right lighting conditions. The steel giant replied. Neat, Aizawa stated, looking back at his students. Silence, with his command, all of the teens didn't even utter a sound. Introduce yourself, I'm sorry, but you will need to stand or sit at the back. You are a tad too big for our furniture, the black-haired man said. Looking back at the people sitting in the desks before him, Izuku started to speak. Hello. I'm Knight Izuku, an exchange student from the good old US of A. It's nice to meet you all, he said, without any face. No one could see that he was barely holding in his laughter after seeing their expressions. That's bullshit. Bakugo literally exploded, pointing to the mech. You fucking fell from the skies using some portal. How the hell are you even a student now? The blonde asked. I don't know what you are talking about. I escaped from my war-torn country and want to enter the heroic course to keep people safe, Izuku said. His eyes looked around, locking gaze with Momo. Her circlet came to life for a few seconds, with a message from him to play along. As the president of Class 1A, I welcome you Knight-san to our school. I hope we can be good friends and get along. To her statement, all of the class looked a bit weirded out. The two acting as if they never met was disturbing to say the least. Thank you PR. President Momo. The steel giant replied, his voice full of mirth. To the surprise of all the teens, Izuku was really agile. With soft and measured steps he quickly and efficiently made his way to the back of the class and sat on his knees behind the black-haired girl. Moving on. Aizawa started again. In 2 weeks the UA Sports Festival will take place. Unfortunately, this year it will be a bit different. I believe all of you, and your parents, got the notification about the conscription to the country's defense forces. He looked over the uneasy teens. The older man had an urge to sigh when he thought about what they would go through with the upcoming war. HCI wants to show the world that our heroic society is the correct way to go into the future. All of the top heroes will be present. Normally it would be an opportunity to get an invitation for a work study. This time it will be an opportunity to get the best combat training for yourself. Sadly, in times of conflict like the one on the horizon, the ability to come out victorious will be more important than the other aspects of heroics. With that said, Aizawa could see that most of his students were unsure what to do. He couldn't blame them as this clearly wasn't what they wanted to do in life, but heroes were needed now more than ever. Saying that, the 2 upcoming weeks will be a time for self-improvement. All of the facilities on campus will be accessible to you. We want to see what you are capable of by yourself before giving you all a tutor. If you have any questions, ask them. If you want someone from the faculty to help you with something, they will do that if time allows. The black-haired man continued. I'm going to take a nap now. Yaoyorozu, you are in charge of getting Knight up to speed. Don't be loud. Ending his long speech, Aizawa pulled out a yellow and fluffy-looking sleeping bag from under his desk and went to sleep in the corner. Nearly instantly all of the present turned around to their new classmate, most of them with awe in their eyes. So we meet at last. I was hearing about you from Mo for the last 6 years. I'm Melissa Shield. Nice to meet you. The blonde girl immediately went to the giant, looking him over. Wow. Seeing you from so close is like a dream come true. Titans were my favorite robots when I grew up, and BT-7274 is one of the best of them all. She started to drone on about the subject. Hello to you too. I'm Izuku. Princess told me about you when we were in Nevada. The mechanical teen replied, following after the blonde girl with his mono eye. Hey, I heard you calling him a Titan a few times already. What's that about? I mean it fits, but why? Mina asked, strolling closer. Hello, I'm Izuku. Who could you be? He introduced himself once again. I'm Ashido Mina, but you can just call me Pretty if you want, she said, wiggling her eyebrows at him. It's nice to meet you, Pretty, he stated bluntly, getting her off guard. It was a joke, you know that, right? Please call me Mina, she mumbled out, her pink face getting a bit darker. Error. Alias for entity Ashido Mina already set. Unable to process request. He replied in monotone like a real machine, this time getting off guard the whole class, Momo included. Zuku, are you alright? The black-haired girl asked a bit worried. I am. Sorry, it was a joke. Midnight Sensei told me to be more lighthearted and try to be more humorous to seem more approachable for civilians. Izuku replied, a bit dejected that his attempt at humor didn't work out. Knight-san. Can I ask you about your quirk? It's a hobby of mine to analyze them and yours seem really extraordinary. The small voice of a green-haired girl could be heard from her seat at the front. Of course. But please come closer, my voice is a bit too loud. Aizawa-sensei asked us not to be such. He replied, looking in her direction. It wasn't hard for him to spot everyone, with his eye around 1.5 meters over everyone's heads. A soft clip-clopping could be heard from his right, and seeing the curious eyes of the horned girl approaching, he turned a bit in her direction. Hello, he greeted. Are you really from America? Pony asked in fluent English. With most of her classmates not speaking her home language, it was a bit lonely for the girl. In a way, you could say that, yes. Princess and I met in Nevada 6 years ago. Some things happened and I was locked in a sub-dimension until I managed to get out of it at the USJ facility. Izuku replied, equally fluent. Most of the class didn't understand them, but the horned girl was visibly happy to speak with someone in her home language. That must have been really lonely, Pony replied, a bit of sadness in her big eyes. Don't worry about that. I'm much tougher than I look, Izuku replied, this time successfully getting a giggle from at least the American girl. So will someone tell me what a titan is? The pink girl asked, puffing her cheeks a bit after getting ignored. I would guess they looked like that, Kyokajiro said with a deadpan, one of her earlobe jacks pointing to the still kneeling Izuku. A titan is a combat robot from an ancient game called Titanfall. It was made in the pre-quirk era. Melissa and I found one barely working copy of it at the island. Zuko was forced to take up this form because he defended me from a villain. I guess he tried to make me feel better by changing into the one I told him about. BT was my favorite and I made a plastic figurine of it to show Zuko what I was talking about. Momo replied to Mina's question. Oh, that must have been scary. Are you really unable to change back? Izumi asked, now standing near Momo. There are sometimes moments in life when you don't have time to consider what to do. There probably was something I could have done to not end up like this, but the man I fought was powerful. If my inaction would cause harm to Princess, then I would rather spend the rest of my life like this. At his words, the black-haired girl blushed profusely, getting a few smirks from the surrounding girls. And answering your question, my meta ability is of a technopathic kind. The main aspect of it is that my body can adapt to the task at hand. After some time I ended up more like a machine than a human, because when I change something into a mechanical equivalent there is nothing my ability can do to change it back into an organic part. Sadly, there is nothing I can do about size 2. Small adjustments aren't a problem, but with a change of this magnitude it's like my ability doesn't want to go smaller again. Izuku explained, with the green-haired girl writing in her notebook so fast it was a wonder that the pencil didn't catch fire. Can I get inside you? I always wanted to pilot a giant mech, Mina asked happily, but for some reason that request made Momo a bit uneasy. I don't know, pretty. Can I get inside you? The giant asked back with clear amusement, getting a snort of laughter from the guys around and a giant blush from all the girls. No sexual harassment in class. Aizawa's voice could be heard from the other side of the room, but it was clear that he found that funny too. Hey, don't be like that. You let Momo inside. Mina protested, with her whole face a much deeper shade of pink than before. I did that because I trust her with my life, she is my friend and savior. If she asked me to, I would take on the world for her and do everything in my power to succeed. He stated, causing the whole class to get encompassed by silence for a few seconds. It was only broken by a soft, "Please don't," from the black-haired girl in question. Oh come on. Just a few seconds, please? The pink girl didn't give up and still pestered him. Mina-san, it doesn't look like you imagined it does, Momo said to the pinkette. Zuko, can you open the cockpit for a second? She asked her friend. Without a word, with low hiss, the armored hatch opened immediately. Wow. Someone's got the special treatment. Mina mumbled, seeing how easy it was for the raven-haired girl to get the giant to open up. Looking inside, it really wasn't that special, just a comfy and fluffy looking seat and lots of padding all around. Wait, How did Mo even control you if this is all that's inside? Melissa asked, voicing what quite a few of the teens were thinking. That's for us to know. Izuku began, shutting his torso close, and for you all to find out. His black-haired friend finished, remembering how he said the same phrase to her in Nevada. With all of the class grumbling to themselves, the bell that announced the end of the class rang. Okay, the time for your self-improvement starts now. You have 2 weeks to show us all what you can do. Normally I would say that wasting it on resting would be foolish, but if you feel that one more day for recuperation is needed after yesterday's happenings, I won't say anything. Remember that the staff of this school is at your disposal if any help is needed. Saying that, his eyes lingered a bit over the form of Momo, remembering his talk with the steel giant a day before. After that, the black-haired man returned to his nap, not saying anything more. Sue. Who wants to hang out for a bit? Mina immediately asked, getting a few confirmations from the group. I should probably go back to my training. I still need to get a better hang of my quirk, Izumi said, after getting her things from the desk. We could just hang out at the dorms. There's a small space behind the building with a picnic table, and the big fella over there will be able to come too. Kyoka proposed, with everyone agreeing. Well, maybe for a bit. The brunette agreed, opening the door. She immediately backed away a few steps when she saw a wall of people behind them. What's happening? Mina asked, walking up to the panicking Izumi. Oh, what's this? A bit of a crowd and you already start to react like that. And this is the supposedly superior class 1A? An extremely arrogant voice could be heard from the mass of people. Momo immediately recognized the owner, having an urge to facepalm. All of you are pathetic. Well, maybe not all. My beautiful Momo is much better than all of you. A blonde student shoved his way to the front. Everyone saw in his face that he would be only trouble. I am not yours, Monoma. The engagement never went through, and it never will. Your sorry self should stop daydreaming. The black-haired girl shot him down immediately, not having any more patience for the insistent teen. Oh, don't you worry, my family slowly rises with power every day. I'm certain our houses will see that the union between us will be beneficial for everyone. The now named Monoma exclaimed in a flourish. Is the guy stupid? Pony asked in her broken Japanese. Go to your Theatrix Club, Blondie, we don't need your kind here. Besides, Yao Momo is already taken. Mina replied to him, with a smirk at the end. That seemed to throw a wrench in a few of Monoma's gears because he nearly tripped. That's impossible. Takahashi-sama would never approve of someone other than me, he yet again started. My father has nothing to say in this regard. My mother and I made certain that he understands that. With her mood getting a bit sour, the black-haired girl had an urge to punch this blonde buffoon, and her father too. I need to make a call. The blonde mumbled and stormed off. That was a bit of theatrics I didn't need to witness. Another tired voice sounded from the gathered people. Oh my God, what is it now? Melissa asked, getting a bit irritated with what was happening. Nothing much, I just wanted to see the supposed best class of the heroic course with my own eyes. I'm not impressed. A violet-haired, lanky teen walked out of the wall of spectators. For some reason one paid any attention to the steel giant at the back of the class. Izuku just sat patiently and listened. He wouldn't be able to go through the corridors with that much traffic anyway. A lot of people didn't get into the course just because they lacked the ideal quirk for combat. I'm here to declare war on you all. If any of you will slack off, someone like me could easily pull the rug from under you and take your place in heroics. He said in a tone of voice so sure of himself that most of the class went silent. Suddenly a mechanical sound caught the attention of everyone. Izuku stood up and slowly walked up to the violet-haired teen. Kneeling on one knee, he bent even lower to look him straight in the face. You do realize that most of the people here are powerful enough to turn you into a smear on the sidewalk if they wish so, right? His question and appearance caused all of the gathered to gulp in fear. Personally, I don't think you are fit to be here, even without any knowledge of what your meta ability does. Scans of your body tell me that there isn't too much effort behind your statement. You got here just to tell everyone how you are going to defeat them for their spot, instead of getting yourself into shape. His deep voice could be heard by everyone. You know nothing. People with amazing quirks like yours just got everything they want, the violet-haired teen exclaimed, but still backed away from the mechanical giant. Maybe that's true. I'm not gonna say that's not an issue, but all that should matter to you is helping people, not showing us up. And my ability isn't that great, to be completely honest. I'm stuck like this for the rest of my life. Would you want to trade? Izuku gestured to his body and asked at the same time. Not getting an answer, he continued. Listen, I'm certain that with enough work you will be an amazing hero. Everyone can be one. The only thing you really need is the drive to do good. Even that hobo-looking guy over there is a hero, and the only thing he can do is shut down emitter and transformation types. The steel giant said, gesturing to the still sleeping teacher. A soft, "I heard that," was all the reaction he got from the man. Ignoring that, he looked at the teen in front of him. If you want to get a fighting chance, I suggest starting a workout regime. A few lessons on hand-to-hand combat or something like that could be good too, he finished, getting a strange look back. Why are you trying to help me? I just said I want to enter heroics. To do that, somebody from here needs to be transferred out. The violet-haired teen asked, not sure what to do. You know, I think you got something backwards here. Being a hero isn't about fame and status, but about doing what's right. If you want to be one, there isn't much that can stop you. The more peacekeepers, the more peacekeeping is done. No? Izuku asked at the end with a bit of mirth in his voice. Keep that in mind. I'm Shinso Hitoshi. He introduced himself, extending his right hand, only to realize too late that the giant in front of him was much bigger. Not fazed even a bit, Izuku slowly moved his big arm forward and extended his index finger to the offered hand and slowly shook it a bit. I'm Knight Izuku, nice to meet you. Okay. I'm sick of this fucking spectacle. Katsuki exploded. Those who knew him were really impressed that it took the Bomberman so long to do so. If you want a war, I'm game, but remember that in the field I will curb stomp your sorry ass into the ground. The explosive blonde shouted, pushing his way through the crowd. The red-headed Kirishima followed after him, apologizing to the people all around for his friend's brash behavior. With that, all of the people slowly walked away, seemingly losing interest. The Class 1A went back to their dorms to rest and plan a bit before the 2 weeks of incoming training. The appearance of the mechanical giant in the heroics course became one of the hot gossips in the school after that day. Chapter 13. Slowly walking back to the dorms, the Class 1A was getting all the possible attention on the way. Mostly because of a mechanical giant that held 2 girls in his arms. Momo and Melissa got themselves a bit of a lift from the classroom to the dorms, courtesy of Izuku. When Momo was still fuming after the unexpected meeting with Monoma, her big friend, seeing the sour mood the girl was in, decided to act. With a soft squeal of surprise, the black-haired girl was softly picked up and set on his palm. Zuku, what are you doing? She asked, looking up into his eye. You seem agitated. That blonde student from before managed to anger you. If I remember correctly, you really liked riding on my shoulders in Nevada. Sadly, I can't really put you up there, so my arm will need to suffice. Izuku replied in a really soft voice. Hey! Melissa exclaimed from beside his leg, getting the mechanical teen's attention. You have 2 arms, I want up there too, she said with a smile on her face. Looking to his friend, the steel giant got a short nod in confirmation. He reached his hand palm up to the blonde girl who eagerly sat in it, mimicking Momo, who was holding onto his thumb to not fall off. With the rest of their friends, they started to go to the class dorms, getting us back to the scene at the start. Most of the people paused whatever they were doing to watch the usual sight. A big robot seemingly in a school uniform waking with the bunch of freshmen certainly was a strange sight. I want a ride like that too. Mina mumbled to herself, a bit dejected that she had to walk beside them. Not worry, Mina-san. Me sure Izuku will carry you if you ask later, Pony said, happily skipping beside the slowly walking giant. They spoke between themselves from time to time in English about random things, giving the horned blonde a bit of a homey feeling. Meanwhile, Melissa was pelting the mechanical teen with one question after another. So you tell me you are powered by a miniaturized cold fusion reactor but don't know how it's made? How's that possible if your quirk is so centered around technology? Wouldn't it be able to make duplicates? She asked, trying to crack the mystery that was his meta ability. Seemingly mulling over the answer for a couple of seconds, Izuku replied. It's not that easy. My ability would be able to manufacture a copy without a problem. The real issue is that there are a few compounds that are essential but not available. I'm running scans periodically, but there isn't even a trace. My EM converter is not able to manufacture them either. Okay, what about Yao Momo? Her quirk could help here, right? Mina decided to ask, still a bit miffed that she wasn't able to ride in Izuku's arms. Not really. Zuko doesn't have the exact information needed to manufacture it. We have the means but not the knowledge of how to. Momo replied from the steel giant's right hand. That sucks. I need a powerful energy source for a few of my projects and there is nothing I could use. The blonde inventor said dejectedly, sitting on his left. Depending on how much energy you require, I may have something satisfying. Certainly not as powerful as the arc reactor, but vanadium power cells I use as backup power could prove satisfying for your needs. Izuku replied, looking at her with his bright green eye. Vanadium batteries? Aren't they extremely heavy and inefficient in comparison to other alternatives? Melissa asked skeptically, with one eyebrow rising over the rim of her glasses. No, I said vanadium power cells. Their construction is totally different, together with the principle they are working on. My current body would be able to move under low stress for around 2 days on full charge, he replied, getting her attention. How big are we talking here? She immediately asked with a glint in her aqua blue eyes. It depends on how much power you are demanding. I'm using now an array of 16 energy cells, each is around the size of a 0.5-liter water bottle and weighs 5.7 kilograms. With his words, everyone could see the gears in Melissa's head turning, or rather spinning so fast it was getting a bit scary. Yes. If it's that modular, nearly all of my power problems could be solved. I would kiss you if you had lips, she exclaimed, her giggles and evil genius-like laughter mixing in a mildly disturbing way. Okay. With our resident mad scientist in her LALA land for now, what are we going to do when we get to the dorms? Hyokajiro asked, from her place near Mina. Barbecue. Pony said happily, punching both her hands into the sky. Oh, I'm game. There wasn't any occasion lately to do something like that. Mina backed the idea. Why not? I could go for a steak or two. Momo agreed, getting a stink eye from the rest of the present females. You are so lucky with that quirk of yours, Yao Momo. I need to watch what I eat to not get fat, and here comes a beautiful black-haired Yamato Nadeshiko kind of gal that can eat whatever she wants. The pink girl said dejectedly, kicking a small pebble to the side of the walkway. You wouldn't even believe. I had to grow up with her. Melissa suddenly butted in, returning from her fantasies. We went once to a cafe on an island when she visited. I bought myself this one slice of a cake, and she bought 2 whole cakes, she said, pointing an accusatory finger at her black-haired sister. Mel, you promised never to tell this to anyone, Momo shouted back, totally red from embarrassment. Okay, let me get this straight. You were born into a family of billionaires, have a quirk that allows you to make anything, and keep your figure slim like a top model. What are you, an anime protagonist? Kyoka asked half-jokingly. Don't forget that she has a giant mechanical boyfriend, Mina quipped mischievously. At her words, Izuku slowly stopped, his eyes unfocused. Walking along a hallway lighted by the setting sun, he was trying to get used to his new mechanical body. The meta ability that he was the holder of managed to save his life. Without it there wouldn't be any chance for survival. His new antenna-like ears could pick up a conversation behind the doors he was about to open, but Izuku paused. With his now steel and titanium hand, gleaming in the deep orange light hovering over the door handle, he listened in. I can't do this anymore. Did you see in what state he returned? They announced him dead. A muffled voice of a woman could be heard, clearly distraught and in tears. So what, you are just going to leave him? Another voice sounded, a bit deeper but still feminine. It wasn't as emotional as the one before, but anger still could be heard. He sacrificed his own body, his everything to save all of us. Are you going to take even more from him? He isn't the Izuku I fell in love with. Is he even human anymore? Those superpowers, those meta abilities, whatever you call them, even with all the holders united we can't win, and Izuku is a fucking android now. How can I even be sure that it's still him under all that metal and wires? A sudden slap could be heard after that. The other woman in the room spoke in a cold voice. How dare you? He was fighting so hard to return to you. He won with death itself just to see you again, and you just plan to kick him aside? The woman continued, but the greenette didn't listen anymore. He felt as if his heart squeezed into a black hole. Not making a sound, he walked away. If his new physiology could allow for that, a stream of tears would flow down his face. Seeing that the giant form of her friend stopped moving and wasn't responding, Momo slowly stood up to be level with his eye and spoke to him. Zuku? Everything all right? What's happening? To her words she could see that the green optic focused back on her. Then the three eyelids like constructed blinked a few times before he responded. I'm good, sorry. It must have been a bug or something after the repairs. I will get it checked later. Are you sure? You don't need to go with us if you feel unwell. The black-haired girl responded, with a bit of worry in her voice. She couldn't know that, but those words were what really helped him. That the first person he met after awakening treated him like a normal human even now was soothing to him. Thank you, Momo. I'm all good now. Let's go. The faster we arrive, the longer we can rest. He spoke back, his tone of voice soft. Oh, that's good. The girl in question replied. It was the first time he used her name instead of calling her a princess in a long time. Starting to walk again, they arrived at the dorms after a few more minutes. Setting the two girls in his arms down to the ground, the steel giant slowly walked to the back of the dorms. He would wait a bit for the rest of the group in the place they agreed on. Looking around, the small relaxation space behind the big building was surprisingly cozy. A few tables with benches and a small area of grass surrounded by a wall, even a small garden in the corner with a few blooming flowers. Deciding to look closer at the small garden, he slowly moved in its direction. It was a bit irritating for him to move so delicately all the time, but with the power his body could deliver now, it was extremely important to be cautious. Making doubly sure that his actions wouldn't destroy anything, he knelt at the edge of the small patch of flowers. Their colorful petals were beautiful to him. Again, all of the plants before him were marked as extinct species by his meta ability. Bending a bit more, his singular eye was mere centimeters away from the flowers. A singular plant caught his attention, with heart-shaped leaves and blue flowers. The petals formed a conical tube and had irregular coloring with a streak of white in them. Even with his advanced sensors, Izuku didn't pick up on a vine-haired girl approaching him. Please don't destroy my garden, it's really hard to keep it in such condition. Her soft voice resounded, making his giant form flinch back from the plant he was inspecting. Looking to the source of the voice, he saw one of his new classmates. Shiozaki Ibara was standing near him, with a watering can in hand. I'm sorry, it isn't my intention to damage any of those plants, he said, straightening back up but still staying on his knees. You seem really interested in those flowers. Why? I thought that with your mechanical nature, they wouldn't matter that much to you, she asked with a curious look in her eyes. Now with access to her garden, she started to slowly water the flowers in it. It's strange. Most of those plants around us are marked by my extinction as an extinct species. Not only your garden, but most of the trees all around the campus too, he replied, idly following her movements with his eye. That's indeed strange. All the plants around are fairly common. My garden may have a few more rare specimens but certainly not extinct, she replied, looking at his big form. It was really easy to mistake him for a machine, but after speaking with the giant it was clear that even if his way of speaking was a bit different, he was still a human being inside. You were looking at this little one in particular, is there a reason for that? She decided to ask, still slowly and methodically watering all the plants. It's morning glory, right? It shouldn't bloom yet, or this late into the day, he replied, looking back to the blue flower in question. Oh, you know the names of them? Shiozaki asked, surprised. Only her mother, who was a florist, shared her hobby enough to learn the names of all her pupils. That's a bit hard to explain. I'm suffering from memory loss. All the raw information is supplied by my meta ability, he said, getting a surprised and a bit sad look in return. Oh, you poor thing, she replied, pausing for a few seconds with her work. There isn't much I can do to restore my memories, but I'm not worried about that, he said, trying to convey a smile with only his voice. I have a goal, a purpose. Everything else will come in its own time. He finished, looking back at the flower. You know, in the flower language, morning glory means brief love, but also. She started, but Izuku cut her off with his own words. Bond of love, he said. Shiozaki was caught a bit off guard by the small hint of sadness in his voice. It's like your bond with Yaoyorozu-san, she said with a little bit of mirth, but jumped a bit with the speed his eye looked in her direction. There can't be love between us. His voice was so certain and level that it caused a bit of a shiver down her spine. Even before I changed to be like this, my body was mechanical. Now I'm a giant made of steel and titanium. I'm a war machine. Momo is my savior and a friend. I will stand by her side until I fall. I will keep her safe with all my strength, but I don't think I would be able to bring her happiness in life, he said, looking back down at the blue flower. Well, we are living in a world where people take many shapes and forms. It doesn't matter what you look like or what you can do. Heart is what matters, and from this short talk with you I can certainly say that yours is as titanic as your person, she said with a smile. Thank you, he replied softly. Don't worry. Our Lord has a plan for everyone. I'm certain that you will be able to be happy too, she said, finishing with her work. Hey Zuku. We're here. Momo's voice could be heard, causing the mechanical giant to look in the direction of the dorms. All of the girls who walked with him from the school and 2 boys from the class were strolling out of the building with some supplies to make the barbecue. Looking back to the girl he talked to for a few minutes now, he spoke. Do you want to join us? I'm sorry, I don't think I caught your name. Standing up only now he remembered that in fact the 2 of them didn't introduce themselves. Shiozaki Ibara. Nice to meet you, Mr. Knight, she replied with a smile. Likewise. Do you want to join us, Ibara? He asked again, causing the stoic to this point girl to blush profusely. Something's wrong? He asked again, not knowing what caused that. It's nothing. You're from America, right? Your Japanese is so good I forgot about that. In our culture, it's inappropriate to call someone that you aren't close with by their first name, but you can call me by it if you want. I don't think you are a bad person, so let it be a sign of our starting friendship, she said with a smile, still with a bit of a blush. Oh, I'm sorry about that, and thank you for your lenience. Please call me Izuku too, he replied after blinking a few times, still waiting for a reply to his first question. I can join you. My work here is done for now, she said, starting to walk in the direction of her classmates. The steel giant slowly followed just behind her, stealing a last glance at the blue flower. For some reason, he felt that it held a significant importance but couldn't place why. Oh, you met with Shiozaki-san. What were you doing? The raven-haired girl asked, a bit curious. Ibara here has a beautiful flower garden in the corner over there, the steel giant said, gesturing with his arm. I wanted to take a closer look and she was watering it. Mina immediately picked up on something. With a sly grin she elbowed Momo. You better watch out, he barely met the gal and already is with her on a first-name basis. He's working surprisingly fast for a 6-meter-tall robot, she said in a joking manner. Oh, shut it already. The raven-haired girl elbowed her pink friend back, causing her to double over from the not-so-gentle gesture. Oh shoot, we didn't bring any matches. Can someone create fire or do I have to go for them? Kyoka asked, with Pony beside her carrying a bag of charcoal. Zuku, can you? Momo asked, already knowing how the rest of her friends would react. Of course, princess. Please set everything up, he replied, walking closer to the grill. The 2 girls did what they were asked of, and after everything was ready it took them by surprise that the coal lit up in flames seemingly by itself. Witchcraft! Mina shouted playfully, pointing to the now-lit grill. Advanced technology can be mistaken as wizardry by primitive individuals. Pretty, the giant said playfully, causing all of the gathered to burst out laughing. Hey, Mina shouted back. Do you need some aloe vera on that burn? Melissa asked, patting the pouting Pinkette on the shoulder. Why are you so mean to me, big guy? She asked dejectedly. I'm sorry, I didn't want to make you feel bad, he replied, with his single eye looking to the ground and his antennas folding back. Somehow the nearly 6 meters tall steel giant managed to look like a kicked puppy. Ah. Don't worry big guy, I'm not mad or anything, she immediately said, seeing her new classmate somewhat sad. You can make it up to me by letting me pilot you, she immediately said with a cheeky smile. Ashido-san. That's inappropriate at the least. He clearly said in class that only Yaoyorozu-san is trusted enough by him. Would you allow full control of your body to someone that you just met? Shiozaki chastised her classmate, managing to do it before Momo could. Glad for the save from his newest friend, Izuku decided to humor the pink girl a little. If Princess agrees, you can sit in the cockpit for a bit, but to relinquish control like last time a neural interface is needed. To his words, Melissa perked up, connecting the dots. Yao Momo. Can I ride your boyfriend? She shouted. A mischievous grin on her face said that she was fully aware of what she said. Getting red in the face, she looked murderously at the Pinkette, who started to sweat a little. I don't know, he's a rather wild ride. Only after silence took over for a few seconds Momo understood what she said, turning even redder. That's not what I mean. Izuku's not my boyfriend. Stop saying that. Zuku helped me out here, she said, looking to the giant nearby. Well, I am quite a wild ride, he replied, and everyone present could clearly picture a sly smile with the tone of voice he used. Zuku. Not you too, Momo wailed, covering her face with the palms of her hands. Everyone started to laugh after that, with Shiozaki muttering something about sinful minds. Ah, here you are. A deep male voice called out to the group, or rather the biggest of them all. Yes. How can I help you? Seeing that the gray and blocky man was talking towards him, Izuku gave him his attention. You are our newest student, right? I am a teacher here, Pro-Hero Cementos. Principal Nezu asked me to create a place for you to stay. Do you have any preferences? The newcomer asked, with a soft yet firm voice. Can you make my dwelling as close to princesses as possible? He asked, causing his black-haired friend to squeak and the rest to burst out with laughter even more. That request is a bit strange. Normally I would never grant it, but your situation is far from normal. Can I ask why? The teacher's face was rather hard to read, but he seemed curious. I need to be close to her to be able to protect her, he replied instantly, getting a raised eyebrow from the blocky man. Protect her from what exactly? And what about your peers or civilians, for example? Don't they deserve your protection too? Cementos's question caused him to pause for a second. Even when he knew that it was a habit more from his meta ability than himself, the steel giant still prioritized Momo over everyone else. I'm sorry, it's a bit of a habit of mine to set objectives to achieve. Of course, I'm not gonna stand idly when someone is in need. Izuku replied, not really lying to the man but not saying the whole truth either. Okay. Considering your size, I will make a small, one-room building here in the courtyard. Is that acceptable? He asked. Of course, but please be mindful of Abara's garden over there. She put a lot of work into it, the giant said, pointing to the small flower garden in the corner. With something resembling a smile, the blocky hero nodded with confirmation and started his work. Wow, our knight is already making sure his maidens are protected and happy. Mina started pointing to the vine-haired girl. Looking at Shiozaki, Izuku saw that she was blushing together with Momo for some reason. Suddenly from one of the windows on the female side of the dorms, a round drone flew out. It slowly moved straight to the group and approached Melissa. Mother, the manufacturing facility reported that the new experimental power source is a failure. The expected output was never reached even when pushing it past the limits. A predicted meltdown occurred, and there are no damages to the facility. It spoke out to the blonde with a feminine and steady voice, It was hard to hear, but one could pick up a hint of a computer synthesizer at work. Don't worry, Luna. Our big friend here may have a solution for that problem, she enthusiastically said to the drone and gestured to Izuku, who was standing right beside her. The little round drone turned to him and slowly looked up. He is indeed big, Mother. The voice sounded once more. Hello, I'm Luna. Who might you be? The little construct asked. Hello, I'm Knight Izuku. I was transferred to your mother's class this morning. The steel giant replied, getting on one knee and bowing slightly to let the little machine get a better look. Are you a machine like me? The female voice asked, getting a few curious looks at how Izuku would answer. I'm a human with a quirk that grants me a mechanical body. Are you housed in such a small frame? He asked back, scanning the drone with his own sensors. Its main body was round and had a single vertical sensor array at the front with a few electrical propellers keeping it floating in the air. No, my main processing unit is located on Island in Mother's Den. Are you the one that Mother Momo speaks of as her knight during her sleep cycle? The round drone asked innocently, causing the black-haired girl to nearly faint from embarrassment. Melissa was laughing her butt off, with the rest of the girls giggling to themselves. I think that was me, but you should ask your mother about that one, he said, barely holding in his own laughter. Does that mean you are my father? With that question all of them fell silent. Even the still working teacher in the background looked in their direction. Before I answer, can you tell me how you arrived at that conclusion? Izuku asked after a few seconds had passed. I was created using my mother's cerebral scans. With both of them combined, my neural structure and personality were conceived. My hardware was created by using Mother Momo's neural interface as a technological base, and I deduced that it was manufactured by you. Using the definition of family from Mother Melissa, I concluded that you too are my progenitor or a parent. She slowly explained, getting a few AWWS and oohs from the girls. Thinking for a few seconds, Izuku somewhat felt a bit warmer in his heart, or in his current form the power core. I am the one who created that headpiece, Luna. Going with your logic, it seems I am indeed your father, he said, with a soft voice. Oh, it's nice to meet you, Papa. The little construct imitated the way her blonde mother called her own father and floated a bit closer to his still kneeling form, seemingly trying to get a better look. Remaining motionless, he followed the small round body controlled by his apparent daughter with his single eye. It's strange. Mother Melissa has a lot of pictures of you in her bedroom, even a few figurines. You are extremely similar to a Vanguard-class Titan, but at the same time some things are different. She started, and this time it was Melissa's turn to get red in the face. My meta ability changed me into this form in a time of need. I used a figurine made by Princess as a base. It was scaled down, so I had to improvise. He decided to indulge her curiosity. I like it, Luna said, ending her inspection. She floated back to Melissa and landed in her outstretched hands. With the artificial construct joining them, the whole group had fun for a few more hours. Thanks to the fast work of the hero, Cementos, Izuku's small home was finished even before the party ended. With everyone treating him like a normal human being, Izuku felt really happy. Well, I hope everyone liked the story, and please share or leave a like, or subscribe to see that you guys like the story, and I'll see you all on the next one.